whether this new strain is more dangerous? Do we have absolutely any more information about this at this point?
So definitely strains that are emerging are more infectious, and therefore they are causing more infection. Excuse me, and therefore we need to be careful. Now, a lot of people argue that they're infectious, but they're not causing more severe illness. I again think that is not true, because if a strain is more infectious, it will cause more infection even in those who are vulnerable, the elderly, those with comorbidities, and in them, if it causes infection, they will have a higher chance of dying because of COVID-19. So if you have a strain which is more infectious, it will infect everyone, including those who are at a higher risk of dying because of COVID-19, and therefore your mortality will go up. That is why we need to be very aggressive in dealing with any strain, even if it is infectious and we feel it may not be causing high mortality right now.
Right. You know, the reason I asked you specifically about this E484K mutation was also because it's infamous for evading antibodies. The question then is, can the new variants that are emerging cause reinfection? Can people who've developed immunity, been given the vaccine, or have infection because they were infected in the past with COVID, can they get reinfected with these strains?
So that is the cause of concern which I was trying to hint at, that if you look at strains which have emerged from Brazil and South Africa, and there is some feeling that we may have some of these strains in our country, these strains have developed what we call an immune escape mechanism. That they have developed a mechanism which is able to escape the immune response that the body has developed because of COVID-19. It could be because of previous infection. It could be related to some vaccination. And because of that, they are still able to cause the infection despite the body having antibodies either acquired naturally or through the vaccine. Now, some data suggests that some of the vaccines may still be effective, although their efficacy may come down. And since many vaccines have a buffer, that they are still, we are happy if you have had an efficacy of 50%. If you have an efficacy of 70%, you still have a buffer of around 20%. And therefore, you could feel that if the efficacy still came down to some extent, it will still be effective. But we still need to be very careful, because obviously these strains will emerge even much more as we start vaccinating more and more people, because there will be a vaccine-related sort of strain on the virus to mutate and try and develop immune escape mechanism.
All right. So immune escape mechanism of new strains is clearly a cause of concern. You know, many are saying that cases in Mumbai are rising, but if you look at Delhi, Delhi's been relatively better. The cases have been declining. We've had 2 days, in the recent past where there were no deaths reported in Delhi, for instance. Can high seroprevalence, therefore, prevent a spike in cases as far as the variant is concerned?
So high seroprevalence means that you have a large number of individuals who have antibodies and are protected. Now that is 2 advantages. One advantage is that a large number of people are unlikely to get the disease because of the fact they are protected. Also, it will break the chain of transmission. So if you have a large number of people who are seropositive, that means that number of people who are getting infected are less. So suppose you have a few people who are seronegative, that is, they don't have the antibodies, but they are surrounded by people who are seropositive or have the antibodies. Then because they are breaking the chain of transmission, the virus may not reach these people who are negative and don't have antibodies, and you may not get you may not have a rise in the number of cases. That is why if you have some degree of, let's say, high seroprevalence, there is some degree of protection. But this is with the rider that I just mentioned, that seroprotective nature should be effective, and the virus should not have developed an immune escape mechanism to bypass this seroprotective mechanism which individuals have.